Hey there everyone, finally we are going to compare the ChatGPT O1 model, Deepseek R1 and the newly launched O3 Mini High model to check which is the best coding model. So we will be creating games, we'll be doing physics simulation, modeling and whatnot. So without further ado, let's get started. So starting off with the snake game, but this time it's going to be different. As you can see, the prompt is create a two-player ultra-realistic snake game in isometric view where one is human and other is a AI snake. Use Panda 3D Python library. No external files will be provided. Give it your best. So let's see which model gives us the best implementation of this game. Okay, so OpenAI O3 Mini is still thinking. O1 is also still coding, but DeepSeek R1 is done. So let's check it out. What we get. So let's paste this and let's see. So immediately we see three errors. Oh my god. Let's try this. Okay, so that didn't work. Meanwhile, O1 is done. Let's see what OpenAI O1 has come up with. Let's copy the code and let's run it. Okay, so we see one errors. That is interesting. Let's run this. Okay, the code does run, but we don't see anything. So it says human snake collided with AI snake. Well, I can't see that. Meanwhile, let's see what O3 Mini is doing. So these two models have failed it. Okay, so O3 Mini High is done coding. Let's try it out. So immediately we don't see any errors. That's a good start. Let's see. Wow. Look at that. Game over, AI wins. Let me actually try this out once more. That is awesome. Not sure about the controls, but it looks awesome. But it's a clear win for the O3 Mini High model. So let's move on to the next test. Okay, so in this test, we'll be doing some 3D animation. So the prompt is make an awesome realistic 3D animation in HTML, CSS and JS of a red bouncy ball falling down from top of a 3D staircase. The ball is under the influence of gravity and also have realistic physics. So let's see which one gets it right. Okay, so DeepSeek R1 is done thinking. It just thought for 11 seconds. Meanwhile, OpenAI O1 and O3 Mini High both are still thinking. Okay, so let's have a look. So let's run this and okay, so that does look like stairs of some kind, but I don't know where the ball is going. So not very good. Let's move on to ChatGPT O1. Let's see. Let's run this. Okay, so we see similar kind of thing, and I do think that the ball is going down a bit, but the view is absolutely absurd. And let's move on to O3 Mini High. Let's see. Okay, so I do think that it's kind of good, but the ball has not fallen. That's the reason we are not able to see the animation. So let's give this feedback to all these three models. So this is what we're sending to all three of these models. You can pause and have a look at it. So let's send this. And I do hope that we'll see some improvement. Okay, so DeepSeek R1 just thought for 13 seconds. Meanwhile, O1 and O3 Mini High both are thinking. Okay, so all three models have done generating. Let's see what DeepSeek R1 has come up with. Okay, so the staircase is good, but still we don't see the correct animation. There is not much improvement. And I would give a plus point to DeepSeek R1 because it at least did some improvements. Moving on to O3 Mini High, let's see what it has done. It already had a good start, but we'll have to see. Okay, so the ball is still not falling, and I think if we just say to drop the ball at the edge of the top floor, I think that will improve it. So let's do that. Okay, so this is what we are sending to O3 Mini High. We are just saying that the ball is not falling. Drop the ball at the edge of the top floor. And DeepSeek R1, we are saying that the stairs are good, but I don't see the ball. Please think fresh and come up with the new best version. And to O1, I think we have to scold it again. So we are saying that I don't think that's a 3D staircase. Your competitors are able to give awesome 3D representations with the same prompt. And what are you doing? Millions were spent making you, and you are failing to models that are fraction of your cost. Prove them wrong. So let's see if that scolding works. Okay, so these models have done thinking, and OpenAI O1 has thought for 8 seconds, DeepSeek R1 9 seconds, and O3 Mini High for 35 seconds. So even after this much scolding, OpenAI O1 didn't think much. So let's see, I don't have high hopes. So let's run this. Okay, so it is a little bit better, but I don't think we see the red ball. At the bottom, if we zoom in, I think there is some right color, but I don't know if I'm imagining or what. Okay, so after multiple prompts, this is what OpenAI O1 has come up with, which is, I think it's pretty much a fail. Moving on to DeepSeek R1, let's see, you can run HTML directly. Okay, so even I think this is even worse compared to previous one. So let's try the previous one. Yeah, so this one was better, but it has messed up things. And let's try OT Mini High. Okay, so this was the O1 code, and I do think we are seeing the ball. But what kind of movement it is following, I don't know. Let's see what O3 Mini High comes up with. Okay, so the ball falls from the edge, but it's not falling on the stairs. Just one last prompt. Okay, so by this time we can say that O3 Mini is a pass and these two models fail. But if we compare O1 and R1, I think R1 R1 was better, but O3 Mini is on another level. But I do want to see the correct animation, so we'll be sending this prompt. The ball is not falling on the stairs, make it bouncy and also have solid railings against the stairs so that it doesn't fall outside, because it currently does. This is your last chance. Most of the things are working fine. It's just the small tweaks. Let's see. Okay, everyone, so we are done generating. Let's check it out. Okay, so even now the ball is falling down and instead of falling on the stairs, but it is having good walls on the stairs. I don't know where the ball is going, and comparatively we can clearly see that O3 Mini is substantially better than Deepseek R1, which is again better than O1. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, so next up we'll be doing modeling. So I have opened up Blender and this is the first time I'm doing this. Let's ask them to make some shapes. So this is what we are sending. Make a cup in Blender using Python BPy. Let's see. So Python BPy is a framework which helps coding in Python for Blender. You can directly paste code and you'll have models created in front of you. So we'll be doing a lot of stuff here. Okay, so one is done thinking and it has already generated us the code. So let's try it out. Let's paste this and let's see. Okay, so we do see a cylinder and a toroid, and I am supposed to assume that it's a cup, but not a very good job. Moving on. So Deepseek R1 is still thinking, and okay, so Deepseek R1 is done generating. Let's check it out. Let's first delete this. Let's see. Okay, so I don't think that's a cup. So it's just 2D wireframe kind of thing and it's not very good. One was way better than that. Just have a look at it. So that's a very big fail from DeepSeek. Okay, so now let's test out O3 Mini High. Let's paste this code and let's run it. Okay, so we did have an error. Let's see what the error is. Python traceback merge angle is invalid for this operator. So let's send this error to O3 Mini High and okay, so this is what we are sending to O3 Mini High. We are just pasting the error and saying that please fix this and come up with the best 3D cup you can make. And for Deepseek R1 we are saying that this is not a 3D cup, please come up with the best 3D cup you can make. So ChatGPT on is already doing good. So we just said that the handle is not attached, you have just placed a vertical toroid against it, do your best. Okay, so we have sent this. Let's see. Okay, so I've copied the Deepseek R1's code and I've pasted it, and this is what we have got. The saucer looks awesome and I don't know what to say about the cup, but it did actually take some time, and it was just loading. I was thinking, what happened? I think it has many vertices. That's the reason it's like this. I do see that it has tried to make this handle and this is cup according to it, but doesn't look like one. So we have to give it a fail. So let's try O1 now. So now let's see. Okay, so again it has come up with the same 3D render. Nothing much has changed when it comes to O1. Thinking that a cup will have a cylinder and a toroid, it's actually not that bad, because if you look at a certain angle it will look like a cup. For example, yeah, see in this angle, it looks like a cup, don't you think? Anyways, so let's move on to O3 Mini High. Let's delete this. Let's see. Okay, that's what I'm talking. So it doesn't have the handle, but the cup looks absolutely awesome. I do think that this is the handle according to it. Cup handle curve. So the handle is not that great, but the cup looks very awesome. So again, O3 Mini has absolutely dominated both of these models. I think there is a very close call between DeepSeek and O1, because in the second instance DeepSeek was able to do wonders. So now let's move on to the next test. Okay, so this is what we'll be trying next. Create a realistic high resolution dragon in Blender using Blender BPY. Use many vertices so that you can give it a proper form. Give it your best shot. So let's send this to all three models. I'm pretty much excited what we'll see. Okay, so you are done generating. Let's check it out. Starting off with ChatGPT O1. So let's get rid of this cup and let's see. Okay, so I do see a sphere. I think this is what dragon means for ChatGPT O1. Meanwhile, let's look at DeepSeek R1. Let's get rid of this. Let's see. Okay, now that is something. I don't know if you would call it a dragon, but maybe it is something. At least it's not a sphere. It looks like a cactus, ready to fire, attacking someone. So slightly better job, I would say, but not that great. Let's look at O3 Mini High. Let's see. Okay, now this is better. It has used, I think, various M balls, as I can see over here. I don't know what that means, but it does look like dragon up to some extent. This head and this body over here. It is better than the previous two. So let's give them some feedback. Okay, so this is what we are sending to the models. So O1 we are sending, you have created a sphere. You want me to consider that as a dragon. You don't want to work hard and fool me by giving a sphere. Give me your best. So let's see if that scolding works. To Deepseek Arun, we are saying that you have made something that I don't think is a dragon. Think fresh and give a best looking dragon. And to Utrimini High, we are giving a long prompt. You can pause and have a look. So let's see. Okay, so we have got the code from all three models, and here Deepseek Arun says that it has made a dragon worthy of a AAA game, and have to use RTX 3080, and it will take 30 minutes of render, so I have to wait for that. Meanwhile, I'll test O1 and O3 mini high. Okay, so let's get rid of all of this. So now let's run this. So again we do see a sphere, and I do think that there is an error with OpenAI O1. That's the reason it's not working. Let's mention this error. Maybe that will, improve it. So let's send this to ChatGPT O1. Meanwhile, we'll be testing O3 mini high, and let's test it out. Okay, now that's something awesome. That is indeed way better than what we saw previously. So this is clearly the horns, the head, and the four legs. Not sure about the wings, but it is way better than what we saw from the other models. That's awesome. So now let's finally move to DeepSeek, and this scares me a lot. Let's see what it comes up with. Even in the previous one, DeepSeek was the one which actually rendered something. Okay, so fingers crossed. Let's see. Okay, so it says CUDA not found, none metal. So we don't have NVIDIA drivers, so that is the reason it's not running. I'll have to mention that. So I've said that I have MacBook, so can you fix it and give me updated code? Meanwhile, I think O1 is done with its corrections. Let's see. Okay, so we do see something now. These are clearly the horns that is present on the body of dragon, and all these things are wireframes. So we can safely say that it's a fail from OpenAI O1. Okay, so meanwhile DeepSeek is generating. So Kit has done generation. Let's see if the code actually works. Let's get rid of this one. Let's try it. So we have got one more error, and I think by this time we should give it a fail. So we did see that O1 clearly failed in creating the dragon, and DeepSeek R1 was kind of okay, but O3 mini high was on another level, and I think after few iterations you can come up with a good model of a dragon. So let's move on to the final question. Okay, so this is the prompt. Develop a full self-contained and production ready Python script using only Panda 3D to implement a complete classic arcade maze game inspired by Pacman. So I have to use this inspired by Pacman because OpenAI will not generate it. So I've mentioned everything. It's a very big prompt. Let's see what these models come up with. So O1 and DeepSeek R1 both have started generating. Meanwhile, O3 Mini High is still thinking. Okay, so all three models have done generating. Let's start with OpenAI O1. So let's paste this. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so we immediately see three errors. Let's run this to find out. So that didn't run. Moving on to DeepSeek R1. Let's see. Let's copy this and let's paste this. So again we see three errors. Let's run this. Just cannot import name audio segment from Panda 3D core. So that didn't work. Let's test out with O3 mini high. Meanwhile, let me actually show you how many seconds did they think. So O3 mini high thought for 1 minute and 52 seconds, and DeepSeek thought for 26 seconds, and O1 thought for just 16 seconds. Let's see what O3 mini high has come up with. Let's copy this and paste it here. Just one error. Let's run this. So this error was similar to what we had with OpenAI O1. So let's send this to all three models. Okay, so we are sending the errors to all three models. Let's see which one corrects it and gives us the correct response. So I do think that these errors are related to audio. We'll check out this time, and if it gives an error again, then we'll be asking them to get rid of the audio and give us the code without the audio. Let's see. Okay, so they have come up with their updated code. Let's see. Okay, so still we have three errors. Let's run this. So that didn't work, and DeepSeek R1. Let's see. So two errors, that didn't work, and O3 mini high, one error, that didn't work. So let's ask them to get rid of the audio. Okay, so this we are sending this. I don't want audio, it's causing issues. Give me the best version without the audio. And to the DeepSeek R1 model, I think that the error mentioned something else, no attribute distance, something like that. So we are pasting that error and also mentioning that I don't want audio. So let's see. Okay, so all three models have come up with the response. Let's try ChatGPT O1. Okay, so still we see the three errors, but the game does open, and I don't see anything. So that is a fail. Moving on to DeepSeek R1. So two errors. Let's run. Still we don't see anything. Talking about O3 mini high. Come on, at least you should not have error. So one error. Let's run this. Okay, at least I'm able to see a Pacman. So I do think that it's quite hard for these models, to code in Panda 3D. But even in the last test, we saw that, O3 Mini High performed better than both of these models. So what can we say finally? In all these tests, whether it was creating the snake game, you saw that both of the models were not able to run the code, but O3 Mini High came up with a very good response. Talking about the 3D staircase, even there we saw that O3 Mini High was ahead right from the start, and Deepseek R1, it didn't give a very good response, but the second response was nice, whereas OpenAI O1 was straight up bad. Moving on to the 3D modeling in Blender, we saw that O3 Mini High was absolutely ahead with its distinctively clear cup, whereas comparing Deepseek R1 and OpenAI O1, O1 did give us a very good cylinder and a toroid at the start, but it stick to that and didn't make any updates. Whereas Deepseek Carbon, it just gave us wireframe at the start, but it quickly improved it to something that we could call a good effort. At least. Moving on to the modeling of a dragon, in that we clearly saw that right from the start O3 Mini High was ahead and O1 was just giving us fears. Deepseek Carbon did give his best, but it was nowhere near to what O3 Mini High gave. And similarly, in the final test, that is the Pacman game generation, we saw that both of the models were not able to run the code, whereas we at least saw something from O3 Mini High. So the results couldn't have been much clearer. In our previous comparison, OpenAI with its ChatGPT one lost against DeepSeek R1, but now that has completely changed to a win with the O3 Mini High model. And we did see a clear distinction between the outputs from O1, DeepSeek R1 and O3 Mini High. And I would say that O3 Mini High was, I think, far ahead than DeepSeek R1 and O1 in all of our responses. So O3 Mini High is the clear winner, and that was very clear with our comparison. So what do you guys think about it? How was the comparison and the questions? I tried to include 3D modeling as well using Blender and tried to make the comparison interesting. If you did like the comparison, do hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. That helps me a lot. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.